We're looking at the start of the India versus England series. It starts from Hyderabad. It reminds me in some ways of the time that you last had a cricketing giant come all over to India, and that was Australia last year. And why it reminds me of the Aussies also coming back here, because ahead of the first test match, there were non-cricketing reasons for which we were already sort of busy talking about the series. In fact, in many ways, that had become the bigger story than the test match. And 8-10 months down the line, I see a similar scenario wherein some non-cricketing reason has now become at the heart or is at the heart of this particular series, which is still about 12 hours away from 14 hours away from the first ball being bowled as far as the series is concerned. Of course, we're talking about Shoaib Bashir. Rohit Sharma has made comments. Ben Stokes has made comments. Plenty of reports doing the rounds. And now that makes us question if it is all just a tactic perhaps at the end of the day by the English camp, let's say, trying to deviate from the series per se and just trying to take it somewhere else. Or is this a genuine issue at hand? Because let's be honest, it's not the first time that a player has faced trouble in terms of getting a visa. We've seen Moeen Ali, Khwaja as well in the past, couple of other players as well.
Mahmood.
And the one common thread is the fact that there is roots in Pakistan that some of these players share. Having said that, that's not to say it's something against, let's say, somebody from a particular community, as is also being reported by certain sections of the media in the West. Because if that were the case, there is, we've had players come from that particular community, one perhaps on this tour already, who did get that visa, and perhaps something that went wrong with the paperwork as well, which is why Shoaib Bashir has now had to go all the way back from the UAE to London to get all his paperwork done, and perhaps as his captain hopes for, hopefully he'll be back by the weekend.
But Rehan Ahmed already had the visa because of the reason that he was part of the reserve side of the England during the World Cup. So he anyways would not have had a problem because he had that visa already, because it's not been that long a time since the World Cup and now. So he had the visa, that's why I think he did not have that problem.
And perhaps had, let's say, the ECB or the English government, let's say, as proactive as they have been in terms of releasing a statement. The statement's also out. Shane, I think, has already done a video on that as to how they're asking for, let's say, fair treatment and this and that. Had they, let's say, not tried to be over smart about the whole thing, that maybe he'll get the paperwork done in the UAE, which is obviously not his native country. Had they also took into consideration all of that, maybe this situation wouldn't have come.
But see, that's the thing. I mean, there has been talks that the paperwork process started in mid-December as soon as the squad was announced, and they did announce their squad very early. So the hold-up, and if it had to be a problem of the UAE, then why is it that no one else had that problem? It's only Bashir who's had the problem, isn't it?
No, there is this thing that if you're from Pakistan origin, there is some extra paperwork that is required. So that I do understand, yeah, that is okay. But then if it is required, someone has to inform that to the ECB also, so that they can accordingly do the paperwork.
So what makes you think that they were not informed?
Oh, they 100% knew.
How do we know what they were informed or not? And my only point is that if there was an issue, then they should have mentioned it earlier. Na? So Ben Stokes is saying we announced the squad well in advance. This has not happened. Did they apply for the visas at that time only? If they were facing issues, why are they letting everyone know at the 11th hour? This could have been said 5 days ago also, that Bashir has not got his visa, there are issues, things need to be sorted. It's just before the test match you get to hear that. Anyway, I mean, apart from, what our opinions are, which I think we'll get to, first I want to get to the core of the story. And to get to the core of the story, let's put out some facts, okay, at the moment. So fact number one is that he is missing the first test match.
Right.
Yes.
Confirmed?
Confirmed.
Yes.
So that's fact number one, he's missing. Fact number two, he's missing the first test match because he's not got the visa on time. Fact number three, he was in the UAE like the rest of the team, but has now moved from UAE and gone to the UK. As and when he gets his visa, he will come. But I think they have now also decided to give him and allow him to spend some time in the UK. Well, that's fact number 3. Fact number 4 at the moment, and which is being reported by the British media, is that his visa is approved.
Yes.
It's just that he needs to land up in UK and get it stamped. Again, we'll get to the opinions, whether that's right, wrong, whatever has happened, we'll get to it. I'm just putting the facts out. Fact number 2, his visa is ready, but he needs to go back to the UK and get it stamped. And by the time he does that, now enough time for him to get here and play. At least that is what we're getting to hear from them. Any other facts I'm missing out?
No. More or less it's the same thing which is going on.
So what is it that the UK media is reporting? I'd like to know. What is the big news? Firstly, let's hear what Ben Stokes has to say. If one of you could just take us through as to what Ben Stokes has said.
So Ben Stokes, in that pre-match press conference that he said, when asked about the question about the entire Bashir visa issue, he stated, "I find it frustrating that we have picked a player and he's not with us because of visa issues. Especially for the young lad, I'm devastated for him." Fine, he is going to make his debut 6'4" Somerset offie. He's really going to, he would have had an impact. That's what England believe in. But for a young guy to not have this, but there has been a precedence in the past where players from a particular country who are of Pakistan origin, they do have a problem. He's not the only guy who's faced a problem. There has been Usman Khwaja, there has been Moeen Ali, there is Saqib Mahmood.
Right?
What is wrong in it? The wrong in this
No,
case.
but I'm not saying you could agree with it is wrong or right or whatever, but I'm saying because we're giving past precedent that it's happened to many things, does that make it right? Is what I'm saying.
In this particular case, it should be right. See, whatever the British media you are saying reporting, no, they are moaning. What the British media are moaning is that they are hiding the incompetence of the ECB, whatever might have. See, visa has to happen between the board, High Commission, all these kind of things. There needs to be proper coordination. It happened in the case of Rehan Ahmed, where the ECB is so overconfident that, okay, we'll get it stamped from the UAE. Why? You are coming to a particular country, visa rules dictate, go to that country or the High Commission or the embassy, get it stamped there from that country. Why you have to go to a third country and do it?
But then that's because the rule exists. No, it's not some arbitrary thing. They decided, no, we'll go to UAE and get it stamped just because. Also, to make one thing very clear, I don't think the British media reporting has to do with the fact that there is a problem that you've had this happen. And if it was a one-time thing, I'd still say, you know what, I'd be a little more forgiving and say, okay, sometimes it happens. You can, and especially if we've lived in this country, we know how bureaucracy works here. Yeah. There is literally nothing you can get done without oiling the wheels, greasing the wheels.
You'd say that today of all the days.
Oh, exactly. Story for off the camera. So
share it with your
no, I'll say another story. But even
domestic, some work had to be done.
Not domestic per se. Yeah, not domestic. It's my personal work, but it requires
whatever.
Governmental work.
But
you had to grease the palms.
I tried to, it didn't work.
Didn't work.
where you went there, it's a little difficult to actually get that
not just
work.
that.
Mera desh badal raha hai.
And even in terms of, when I'm saying the bureaucracy and the red tapeism, it's that nothing will go forward unless everything is absolutely precise, which is fair. But at times you'll find even with the idiosyncrasies that are present, you're like, is this really necessary? And they'll be like, sir, kya kare? System hi aisa hai. My point is, if it happens, I don't agree with Siddharth's statement that, oh, this has to be right in this case. Why?
No, but my counter to that is, ultimately, there was a hue and cry about some Pakistan players also for the World Cup that they were facing issues. Was it not ultimately done? So, if it can be handled at the 11th hour, if, let's say, it was flagged appropriately, the right manner, the right time, it would have been handled and maybe Shoaib Bashir would have been with the English camp.
I don't know. I think it was. I think because, again, the message you're getting, and this is from the government, not the English Cricket Board, is that they have been following up with this issue for a long time. So it's clearly not a new thing. Just because it's come into the public domain now doesn't mean that it's come out of the 11th
But if
hour.
there are comments about Virat Kohli's ego and baseball and this and that coming from the opposition camp, maybe this was also an issue that could have been raised, let's say, in the last 1 week.
That's chalk and cheese.
I'm just saying,
What does a Monty Panesar have to do with the visa of Shoaib Bashir?
That I agree.
Yeah, I mean,
the fact that Ben Stokes has been giving interviews this whole week, So has been Robinson. So have been the
no.
other players. Why was it not highlighted then?
No.
Probably because, as I said, as you pointed out, maybe let's say the Pakistan team got the visa last moment, right? It was done. Maybe in their case also, they thought it will happen last moment. Like you and I, when I travel
The
abroad.
visa rejection happened probably at the last moment, so they have to release a statement today or yesterday.
Also, so many times we travel, and I have for various countries get my visa last moment. Only when it does not happen at that moment, you will go helter skelter. Maybe just giving them that benefit of the doubt doesn't make it right or wrong. We'll get to that. Yeah.
In fact, they were pretty hopeful that Bashir would eventually land, because when actually he wasn't in the flight to India, the next day the statement that came from Brenda McCullum was that we are hopeful that he would reach us by the 23rd and he would be available from the first test. So they were, according to them, he was going to come. This is a really last minute problem that actually they have faced.
Yeah, and actually if you read Baz's comments, he didn't seem hostile.
Yeah,
he was pretty chill about the entire situation. Yeah. He was pretty chill about the entire situation, saying no, it'll get sorted, it's a small thing. And he also tried to downplay it as much as possible, but it's classic British media that they will always be the pantomime. They have to make everything a circus.
That actually reminds me, and, salute to Mr. Sunil Gavaskar, because about a month before this series started, he did point out one thing, that get ready, you're going to get the biggest moaners, as far as the media is concerned, touring India. So if you're looking for headlines and cribbing and crying and moaning about something, it's going to happen. He predicted it a month ago. So for those of you who follow news very well, can go back, go onto Google, check it out, find out. And for those of you who follow it regularly would already be aware of what I'm talking about. I'm just, I didn't think of mentioning this, but because Shane points out of how the media has portrayed it, it just took me back to, I said, where have I heard that before? And then I went back just about a month ago. There was a headline where Sunny Gavaskar, but I guess that's also his experience talking, having dealt with, that media, having toured England so many times. He could already see that things would be blown out of proportion. Obviously, he could not second guess this would be the issue, but he definitely knew as soon as some issue creeps up, you will see them cry and moan about it. We'll get the media headlines a little later, but what I want you to do, Siddharth, is you haven't finished. There's another comment by Ben Stokes. So let's just put the facts right first. So there is another thing he says. Okay, what is this?
Yeah. When I first found the news out in Abu Dhabi, I did say we shouldn't fly until Bash gets his visa. That's the statement. He said that we were prepared to not fly. But that was a little bit tongue-in-cheek. Now, because of this, we shouldn't fly until Bash gets his visa. That particular point has been highlighted. And now the British media have created a proper pantomime circus like what you pointed out. And you're saying 1 month back. We experienced all this 7 months back with what happened in Lord's over Johnny Bairstow's run out. That time the British media were at their ultimate. The fans, the media were at their ultimate crime. Where they just said, oh, it is against the spirit of the game. Excuse me. Irony died 1 million deaths at that time in Lord's. Bairstow was foolish to just wander out thinking it was over. But the British media lapped it up. Oh, these dirty Aussies and all those Jardine.
Spirit of cricket.
Yeah, whatever. The so-called hocus pocus called the spirit of cricket.
Now we'll all remember the bowler, huh, Siddharth? Thanks to that quiz that you made us all take.
Of course. Alex Carey. So, that guy in Cameroon. So, now, that was a little bit tongue-in-cheek. That point has been removed. We shouldn't fly until Bash gets his visa.
But that's poor journalism in that case. That's just poor journalism.
What is the British media? Whoever reads the most of them, you look at most of the tabloids, they are known for sensationalism. Look at the Sun, look at the Daily Mail, look at all the Mirror. I'm not saying the Guardian, the Independent, they don't practice all this. They are fair outlets.
No, though I agree with you. By and large, that's the case. Not today. Not today.
Yeah, the Telegraph also has jumped in. Yeah.
So, because we are on that subject of what the media has done, can we quickly mention the two headlines? And we'll get back to these two statements as well.
Yeah.
Pawan, let's take a look at the two headlines that we see.
So, this is
one
from
of
the Daily
them
Mail.
is from the Daily Mail. Yeah, go ahead.
We're being generous by calling them a newspaper.
Yeah, exactly. The
They're a tabloid. Okay.
I remember
from Fleet Street.
In 12th standard, when again I had started watching football and all, the time that it used to be for, let's say, you to track transfer rumors, I think it took me just a couple of seasons to know this is not where I have to go.
Yes.
The Sun would be the same, the Mirror all the more.
Yeah.
So tabloid, what is their headline?
So-
Can we show this also full frame? Okay,
Yeah.
this is the Daily Mail headline.
So the Daily Mail channeling their inner Greta Thunberg and saying, "How dare you!" When India block England spinner from entering country on eve of Test series on behalf of cricket fans, Mail Sports says Greta Thunberg like, "How dare you!" So that is one headline.
Okay, so you know what this highlights? This also highlights the high-handedness, of British media. They also probably living in that colonial past where they just could not take no for an answer. And what's really hurt them right now is the fact that how could for them perceived third world country like India could take a stance like this against a first world nation like England. So this is not like even raising a question. This is literally issuing a diktat or almost like scolding you as how dare you do this to us. So it does a lot in terms of highlighting that to an extent that high-handedness and a sort of mild racism as well in terms of how you've put this out, because a paper carrying a headline like this okay, I'm sorry, it's not a newspaper, you said tabloid.
Can't even call it that.
Yeah, carrying a headline like that is literally issuing a threat. That's how I see it like that. So this is what they've done to begin with.
There's a reason a lot of sport fans have nicknamed them the Daily Fail.
The Daily Fail, yes.
That's really all they do.
Yep.
Okay, so that's one headline.
Yep. And the second has come from the Telegraph, if we may get that up. Yeah. The Telegraph has gone one step ahead and stated England should refuse to play in the first test after India's shameless Shoaib Bashir stunt.
So that takes me to the point you said only the tabloids do it. Now this is a well-respected newspaper. I call the Telegraph that. We do visit Telegraph quite often. I read it and I'm sure my colleagues do too.
My Capital's columns.
Various others, not only sports for
their sporting coverage in general is pretty good.
Pretty good, yeah.
But overall as well, whether you're reading Formula 1, soccer or cricket, golf, whatever, even otherwise news-wise, it's a brand that you can trust. It's the brand that a lot of people read, follows the old principles of journalism. But even they have gone with a headline like this, that England should refuse to play in the first test after India's shameless Shoaib Bashir stunt. Now, for those of you who are not in this field, this is what we try and practice, and I think my colleagues here will endorse that. The first thing I always tell them, whenever they're putting a title or a thumb or whatever you may put, don't editorialize it. That means that do not push an opinion. If you are putting an opinion out, let there be a debate, which is why quite often you will see us put two options, just like we've done today in our title. Is it mind games or are they moaning? And there is a question mark. If you read this headline, there is no question mark. It's a statement. So they have issued a statement saying that this is India shameless stunt. It's a shameless stunt by India. So it's a comment, or the kind of comment that you do not practice in journalism. What you're supposed to do is put the facts out. I often tell this to Harshit and endorse it, that whenever we treat a story, especially a sensitive story, you do not put anything on your own. You do not give an opinion even towards the end of your story. All you do is say X. If these are the two parties involved and they are fighting and I'm reporting on them, I will say Siddharth said this, Shane has said this. This is Siddharth's background. This is Shane's background. This is what Siddharth has stood by. This is what Shane stands by. And there will be contradictions in that, which will be laid bare after I've put all the details about Siddharth and Shane on that piece. Now it is up to you, the reader, once I've put all the details out of their past instances, of their allegiances, of their past statements and where they stand and what they are saying now. Once I put all of it out, then you as a reader can make up your own mind and you can see through a Siddharth or a Shane, and then you make up your mind. I will not put it in the end that Siddharth is you know, absolutely right, perfect, the good boy. Shane's the naughty one. Always, I'm not going to write that. If I do it, then I'm not practicing journalism. And that's exactly what Telegraph has done. And quite surprised I am to see a brand like Telegraph do it. But then I again go back to the words of Sunil Gavaskar. I go back to certain other instances and moments like Siddharth has alluded to, and we have also in the past, where it then tells me that this has become a common practice. So it's not a rare occurrence, it has become a common practice. So I think that needs to be dealt with. So this is just a we will also put our opinions towards the end, because this, as you know, is an opinion based show. It's a talk show. It is not a piece that we are writing. Okay, it's not an article or an explainer or various other videos which we do where we don't put opinions out. This is a talk show which is an opinion based show. So we will all come up with our opinion, but just wanted to shed light on the journalism that was practiced, one, A, by a tabloid, and two, by a conventional newspaper.
I mean, should refuse to play. I mean, it reminds me what happened 56 years ago when England were caught napping over the Basil de Oliveira affair.
But at that time they stood firm.
Only due to public pressure, by the way.
Yeah, but they did.
They didn't. There was so much of flip-flop when the then South Africa Prime Minister...
But at the end, England won that battle, right?
They cancelled the tour.
Yeah, they cancelled the tour. It put pressure, and to be fair, that was a catalyst to, to ensure that there was a total ban on South Africa, and no country would tour.
Alienation.
Eventually, South Africa had to come around it. So while it happened through public pressure or whatever, I agree. Basil that's a good point. I'll do a sport tale on that.
Yeah.
Maybe tell them the entire story. But at least that was a turning point, because. But then again, South Africa was a country at that time that was practicing apartheid, active apartheid.
Absolutely.
So you could understand, and England put their foot down. So what the English media wants now also, that they feel that England India in this sense is practicing some sort of racism.
Yeah.
And so England should put their foot down and not know. But even then, it's a comment.
It's a comment.
Not a question.
Exactly.
Very ironic one, but I'll not go to the politics of it.
No, which is what I pointed out to the earlier headline. So on one side, you yourself are being very chauvinistic in your approach and saying that how dare India do that, which is showing you where you're trying to be, in a way trying to show that you're superior, and how can somebody who's inferior to you do that? It completely smells of that. It is exactly that. And on the other hand, you want to uphold the right spirit of how a sport should be played in the other headline, where you're saying no, everyone has to be treated equally, and if you're not treating everyone equally, then we will put our foot down. We stand for justice. So the contradiction between two headlines couldn't be more stark. I mean,
that is the way. That is how England function. That is how it is always been in that sense. They would want to create a hype. They would want to create a controversy out of nothing. And that is why, see.
But is this nothing? I don't think it's nothing. I don't think
See,
this is nothing.
it is clear. Pakistan origin. The word here is Pakistan. And you know that there is going to be this kind of a situation each and every time. And India have been consistent with it. It happened with even Usman Khwaja.
But being consistently bad with something doesn't
It
deserve
isn't bad.
give you plaudits. I'm sorry.
It isn't bad.
I'm sorry. No. Why is it not bad?
Pakistan is an alien state for us.
Is Shoaib Bashir from Pakistan or
Pakistan
origin, grown up and played all of his thing in the UK? Then that though gets very twisted, and you're going down a rabbit hole that is very hard to actually explain your way out of.
No, why it's a rabbit hole?
It is.
It is, see, Pakistan or anything to do with Pakistan. That's the problem. Anything to do with it.
But your statements are equally as much of a problem.
Pakistan origin. He isn't Pakistan. It was Usman Khwaja, Moeen Ali. All of these things have happened with them. And if it is so firm, this thing to be done with something of a Pakistan origin, then it should. I do understand that you have different kind of rules for a set of people from a specific origin. Then that have to be conveyed in that way properly. If your aim is to not, if your aim is to actually irritate them, then
it isn't the question of irritation. Look, in case of, we all know that the case of Shoaib Bashir, the ECB and all the authorities involved have done a total kerfuffle about it. There was no coordination in the paperwork. There was no coordination.
Do we know this
No,
for a fact?
exactly.
Do we know
Might
this?
have
No,
been.
no, no.
We don't
Might
know
have
this.
been is
See,
not
coordination.
No.
But
It didn't happen with Rehan
but
Ahmed.
Rehan is saying that that's
Why didn't
conjecture.
happen
That's
with
full
Rehan Ahmed?
conjecture. Might you
Exactly.
said there was a full
Then even I can
but
say that
then
maybe he was this wasn't conveyed.
See,
to
then the
ECB
Pakistan
till
thing
the
stands
last
then.
moment.
If you say that this is wrong, then the Pakistan thing stands.
how does it stand?
It does stand.
No,
every
explain.
Pakistan player or every Pakistan origin player has faced a problem.
Yeah.
The rule is there in the visa situation.
But then, does that make it right? Just because
It
there's
is
a
right.
rule. How?
India-
Because the rule exists. And
Yes.
tomorrow I'll make a rule that you can't speak on the show. Does that make it right? Of course not.
no, the special status with India versus Pakistan, that is the situation.
But
he
he's
is
not
from
coming from
Pakistan.
Pakistan.
No, Pakistan
He's
origin.
Pakistan origin.
Pakistan origin.
Arey,
They
what
want to know
nonsense.
what his parents. I'll tell you basically the
It is a
papers
huge.
that are
It happened in the
required.
case of Basil de Oliveira.
No. The papers that are required for
Bas-
Pakistani players, it's basically more seeing into their backgrounds, what their parents do, have they actually travelled, what was their reason for actually shifting, all of this.
This
Then
is
this should be.
see,
See, it can
what-
change at any moment.
No. What happened with the Basil de Oliveira
Yes,
situation?
listen,
I'll tell you. Okay, he was a
Arey-
coloured South African and he was from South Africa playing for England. But at that time, why it became an issue? Because South Africa was practicing a very wrong policy of apartheid. Here, Pakistan related anything. India has hostile relationships with Pakistan. That doesn't make it wrong.
Arey-
The situation has been created by Pakistan. Whoever is from Pakistan origin, good luck. You have to face these kind of situations when you have to compare.
I am
India.
saying that is totally fine, and then that needs to be communicated. How do you know that it was communicated? I am saying if
Then
you are from
Bashir is
Pakistan
going
origin,
back,
Shane
isn't it?
sir. No, I am saying you are from Pakistan origin. Shane sir is from Pakistan origin. I have to give a visa to both of you. I know a certain set of things about you. I want to know more about him. Then I should be in line with them. When I know a whole team is coming, I'm representing, or the image of my country would go like that. Then I should be on the same page about both of them.
See, that's the thing.
It shouldn't be
That's
different.
the thing. This
That
is not.
is where
But
this
you're
issue
not.
has
You're
happened.
not screening, Siddharth. You're not screening a common man coming from Pakistan. This is a cricketer who's living and is based out of the UK. I need to stress that point often enough. He is part of England. He has English citizenship, is born in England, and has been playing their county system for years at this point. He is not coming from Karachi.
Exactly.
I
That is
get
not
your
the
point,
case.
Shane. No, but the problem is, and again, you got to give it to the Indian authorities over there. The fact that yes, he may not be from Pakistan. The fact that there is some sort of association with a nation, a rogue nation at that, and India has suffered long enough. Every decade on decade, you go back the last couple of decades, there's been enough reason. You should have done the paperwork well in advance. We don't know.
do you know
I'm
this
just
is all speculation.
Exactly what I'm saying. So to say that it was done is speculation. To say that it wasn't done is also
No,
speculation.
then there should be a specific.
Just one sec, just on that subject. If the Rehan got his thing done, he's also similar. That means there has to be a difference between what Bashir did and Rehan did,
The
right?
difference is that he had it already.
Correct. So what I'm trying to say is that there was enough time for Rehan to have secured it.
Yeah.
The same extra time wasn't given by Bashir. What I'm trying to say is that while we do not know exact dates, but what we can conclude with the facts at hand is that for maybe from the UK point of view, they treated all players the same as UK citizen. And let's say they applied 2 weeks in advance, hypothetically. And the other players got it, he did not, because there is an extra layer of due diligence that you have to do with people born in Pakistan. It did not happen in Rehan's case. What does that mean? It means that India is not averse to having people who are born in Pakistan coming and playing here. But they will have extra layers of security to check that. It happened in Rehan's case because he was coming for another tour anyway and he had got the visa, right? So he must have. So what we can conclude is that in Shoaib's case, Bashir's case, you have not given that much time. Had you given that much more time, you probably do it the same way as all other players, and it did not happen. But maybe there are certain protocols in place, and we know those protocols are in place. Whether it's right or wrong is another debate, which we can get to a little later. But those protocols are in place, and because that time was limited, the UK born or Kiwi born, British or whatever you are, got it. The Pakistan born British player did not get it.
Also, like Sashwat said, he was the traveling reserve during the World Cup, right? So must have been given a 3-month visa. I'm taking it. Ideally, should have been, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe a 2-month visa also for that matter. World
So
Cup.
renewing that is much
So
easier.
exactly, you look at the Indian authority. So knowing that this was probably going to be something that could come as a situation later on, he was given an extended visa, by the way. Otherwise, you don't get such long visas while traveling to India or any other nation for that matter. I know people who just got about 18 days of visa while traveling to Ireland. Not a single day in addition to that. So I'm just saying, for him, so he was easily given, I'm guessing he was then given a 4 to 5 month visa, because October, November, December, the whole of Jan, Feb, so he was given a 6-month visa if I was to then assume.
No, even as
Could have
we
been
don't
renewed
know.
also.
We don't know. We don't know. We don't know. So we don't know it's 6 months, 2 months. We don't know. But all I said is that because there was a visa earlier, could have got it. And what the point is that the case of Shoaib Bashir is different from Rehan. What that proves is, and we can conclude, is that India is not averse to giving visa to players that have any sort of Pakistan connection, whether they are born or their parents are born, but they will take extra time. Now, just to put both your points, and I kind of agree with Shane and Siddharth, and I've been listening to both of you. See, firstly, I think there is nothing wrong for India to have an extra layer of security with anyone that has any sort of Pakistan connection for now, because this exists. Whether it should change or not, as I said, we'll get to that debate. It exists. And by the way, this also exists from the Pakistan side. One example which has not been quoted in the show so far, I will give you, is Sridhar, who was a spin bowling coach of Australia. Okay, he was refused entry into Pakistan. He's an Indian player. He has been a spin bowling coach with Australia for a lot of years now.
Sridhar and Sridhar.
But he was not allowed to enter Pakistan last year when the Australian team toured there after a very long time. In 2022, the Australian team went there. And Sridhar and Sriram, who is an Indian player who's played a few matches for India, he's been a coach, the spin bowling coach with Australia for very long, did not get his visa. So Pakistan also has that extra layer of security. Whether it's right or wrong, again, as I said, is a different debate, for anyone that has an Indian connection. So Sridhar, Sriram also did not go. So Australia went on that Pakistan tour without their Indian spin bowling coach. Okay, so that has happened. I'm going to the journalists as well. You knew that we were attempting to go to Pakistan for the Asia Cup because there were a few matches that were happening in Pakistan. Journalists from our organizations also did not get visas on time to travel to Pakistan in time. So all I'm saying is it cuts both ways. Pakistan also has extra layers of scrutiny for Indian nationals or people born in India, and India similarly has that. I'll give you another example because I know of a lot of people of Pakistani origin in UK and Australia. They are cricket fans who I meet over the years. A lot of them are Australian citizens or UK citizens. They may have been born in Pakistan but went to Australia, UK as kids, or if sometime not them but their parents are born in Pakistan. A lot of them wanted to come to India. They bought tickets as well, but they were denied a visa to come to India. Again, whether that's right or wrong is a different debate. My point is, what India has done now with Shoaib Bashir is not unusual.
Yeah.
So what has happened now is we have followed protocol, we have followed the norms that we have right now. So for the English media to say that there is some kind of conspiracy, that there is some kind of exception that they've done to jeopardize England's chances to be playing here, I think
there's a bit of a news that he has been granted the visa.
No, but that I already have told you. The visa has already been given. He needs to go to the UK to stamp it. He's already reached UK and he's now taken the thing.
Visa, yeah.
So there's nothing new. Shoaib Bashir, as we had reported at the start of the program, the visa was granted to him.
No, as soon as he has reached England, he has gotten the stamp.
So that's exactly what I just said.
He just did a Harshal.
He just had to get it stamped and
We said it at the start of the program. We're not listening. That he was given the visa. We reported it. The visa has been granted to him. He needed to reach UK. He's reached the UK, so he's got it now.
Yeah. He just has to get it stamped on this passport in the UK.
Just going back to the point that I was mentioning, that the fact is that India has not done anything out of the ordinary in Shoaib Bashir's case. This has been India's stand for a very long time, and they followed it. Pakistan also does it, as I just gave you a few examples with a few Indian players. This is common. Now to the point that Shane was making, and I kind of agree with him, that while these rules will exist and you can't change it because of the geopolitical situation between India and Pakistan, and I agree with India that they need to do multiple background checks because you do not know which is the person who's compromised, right? And through which channels your country can be compromised, right? Whether in terms of, you do not know, because you know there are forces at work that can take any route, any way to get information out and things, and that happens. It's not just restricted to those spy thrillers that you see in films. In reality that happens, and can I be very honest, it does not happen from one side. It's an attempt by both countries to try and extract as much information from the other country.
Keep the upper hand, basically.
That's exactly what happens in a geopolitical world. That's exactly what happens. So which is why countries with which you don't have great relations, you try have extra layers, and I think in that case both India and Pakistan are fairly right. But my point is that now something needs to be done, because you can't be, as they say in Hindi, lakir ka fakir, that you have a certain set of guidelines and you will just follow it to the T. Sometime, and I hate the word VIP, and I'm not counting them as VIP, but certain people of prominence need to be looked at differently. I'll give an example. Like Shah Rukh Khan landed in the US and they,
thoroughly
had
checked
him.
him.
My point is, all you needed was a Google search to figure out who that guy is, right? If you did it, and what did we do here in India? We lambasted the authorities in the US.
Correct.
Because I think we were right. I agree that not everyone in the US needs to know who Shah Rukh Khan is, but just 5 minutes of basic tabletop research would have told you who he is, and that should have been enough rather than holding him at the airport for hours on. Right? That's all you need. Similarly, I think this is something that needs to be done both at the India level and Pakistan level, that in sporting tours, and it by the way happens to a lot of our boxing contingents or our shooting contingents, various other, where this problem happens.
Tennis.
People who are representing country, they are well-known people. They have, you're a tennis player, you're on ATP ranking, there's a background, everything, you're a cricketer, even if you're a young cricketer, all of that is available. I think certain exceptions can be made, and you can probably ease a bit of those, screens or layers of checks that you have. Or even if you want to keep those, you could just hurry up the process a bit, just expedite it a bit more. You can, especially when the tour is happening. I think this is something that needs to be looked at by India, okay, and by Pakistan, that when you have certain tours like that, just to avoid any sort of controversy and just to play fair, because I agree with Ben Stokes' earlier point, where if you go to the Ben Stokes statement, that the first statement that he makes, and unlike the UK media, we're not going to misreport. What he says is, first he says, I find it frustrating that we have picked a player and he's not with us because of visa issues. By the way, this also can be twisted. If he says he's frustrated, it does not always mean he's frustrated with the Indian setup. He could just pretty well be frustrated with the ECB, or just frustrated with the situation that they find himself in. Overall, yeah. He's not actually pinning the blame on someone. Just as captain, he's frustrated that we are here. You could have sorted it out in whichever way. He's not, because a lot of people have put this out saying that when he says he's frustrated, he's trying to speak of the Indian government and their stand. He's not specified that.
No.
I could be, if I am playing a match, for example, and I've lost, and I've said I'm frustrated, in the situation I've had, it doesn't necessarily mean I'm targeting my coach.
Yeah.
I just could be frustrated with how I approached the game today. I could be frustrated with how the crowd was behaving on that day. I could be frustrated with the weather that was on that day, which did not. So he's not specified he's targeting India. First things first. So, anyone who's putting that out, that Ben Stokes has targeted India or anything, I don't think he said that.
No.
He's just said, I'm frustrated in the situation, which I completely empathize with, because he's a captain who would want his full squad here. That's first thing. Secondly, when he says he's devastated for the young lad, I also agree with him. Let's put the shoe on the other foot. If I was an Indian captain and a youngster could not come for whatever the reasons, right or wrong, we've discussed it, I would be devastated for the young lad. Imagine going to be playing his first tour, that too in India, already butterflies in his stomach. What's going to happen? Then you deny him this visa, has to go back to the UK, get a visa stamp from there, come here. All of that will take a toll on him, even if he was to make his debut. You know, what you try and do with your young players is shield them from controversies and keep them aside. But now you can't help it, because he'll check his social media, he'll check, there'll be 1 million mentions, there will be debate. And I'm saying, there will be debate in his favor, against it. All of that is going to unnerve him. So, which is not an ideal situation. And in that case, I agree with Ben Stokes. And by the way, let's go to the Rohit Sharma statement. I think even Rohit Sharma's statement is being put out of context. Even he has said, and this is not the entire statement, he says, where he was talking about, he's not just said, most people have said that, oh, I am not the visa officer, what can I do? And you just highlighted, which seems like he's brushed it under the carpet. He's not done that. Yeah. He says, I feel for him, and then he goes on to say that it's not ideal for a youngster not to get a chance. See the full statement. So even he has said that, as a captain, he understands not a thing. And then he says, but I am not a visa officer, so I can't sort this issue out. But in his entire statement, if you read it, he says that he feels for the young kid, it shouldn't have happened to him, and he hopes that it's resolved quickly. So even he is empathizing, because you know why? He's a player. So he looks at it, he's looking at beyond. That's why I say sports and politics in a way should be kept aside. And he's talking like a true sportsman, Rohit Sharma. And I love his statement today. He could have very well taken a political stance and said, no, whatever they have to do, it's right. No, he's taken a sporting stance and he stood by for that youngster, which I completely agree. Some thoughts on what has happened?
I mean, if you keep sports and politics aside, the Olympics wouldn't exist then. Simple. Every Olympics, if you look at it in the modern era, has been tinged with politics. And if sport and politics don't mix, apartheid wouldn't have collapsed in South Africa.
So that's exactly what I'm saying. Is that a good thing? Because Olympics does it, so we should continue mixing sports and politics.
Geopolitics.
Just before the show started, and again, it's not lip service that we're saying it. What were we discussing before the show started? And I said how unfair it is to allow the Russian athletes, not allow the Russian athletes to play under their flag, because you're mixing sports with politics. So if Olympics is doing it, if tennis is doing it, I think it's unfortunate.
Even cricket has done it.
Has done it and will do it next year.
Yeah.
Next year also.
2025 onwards, immediately after July, you're going to see all this. Oh, India is not going to travel to Pakistan.
But having said that, there's one thing that the point that you had earlier made. The point that you had earlier made about how there should be an exception, maybe with let's say certain high profile people, athletes, agreed with that. But that's not to say that I won't expect these extra layers to be taken down. I think maybe they can be there.
Yeah. I said.
But
I said what you can do is you have those extra layers.
Expedite the process.
Yes. I mean, you probably assign an individual, like one does 10 things, maybe for certain important issues, especially like a tour, because cricket is, as you know, in India and England at the moment are two very high profile things. Correct. Imagine if it was a cricket tour. See, if it was let's say a doctors conference that was happening, and there were doctors coming from there to attend that, and if it did not happen, I'm not saying it's right, that's also important, but the country will not come to a standstill. But a cricket tour, as you know, is so important. Those 15 people are under scrutiny all the time. I'm saying have the layer. Just expedite it. Yeah. I'm sure you can do that. I'm sure you can do that.
So because of the fact that there's been so much friction and there is legit reason, the heart of it is national security. So you don't take that layer down. But yes, because there is a certain value and importance attached to these individuals, expedite. They are not supposed to be going through the whole process the way that, let's say, a poor 20-year-old is going through at the moment. Not what he, like you said, needs to go through, especially when he's on his maiden England collar.
See, I mean, you can't, unfortunately, you will not be able to ever separate sport from politics, particularly international sport. Why? It is very much down to national identity. So you're not removing it entirely. That being said, you can't remove politics from sports, but you don't need to politicize sport either. That's the nuance. You don't need to politicize it, because in the spectrum of Indo-Pak poor relations, which I totally agree with, there are valid reasons why India has those. A 20-year-old kid who has nothing to do with any of that is having to fly back and forth, which is unfortunate. It's not his fault.
On the face of it, we perhaps know that, but the authorities can't act the way that we also do. We need to do a due diligence.
Ha,
That's
I'm
the
just saying,
question
make
that
the
the
due
common
diligence
man
quicker.
who's, let's say, suffered in the past will ask from the Indian authorities. What is it that you're trying to do to now safeguard me? Given the kind of history that we've had, let's say,
Fair.
with the rogue neighbors, that's going to be any common man question that why are you lifting it?
But don't lift it. No one's saying to lift it.
Exactly.
Make it quicker, streamline it, and ensure that in such cases, because again, at the end of the day, what happens? You as a country end up looking poor, whether or not you want to.
Agreed. But this controversy, or let's say a miniature version of this controversy, also sort of erupted when Pakistan was to, let's say, come over here. And yes, there was a little bit of a hold up over there. But look what happened once the players were here. Were they not greeted and welcomed as if they were superstars in this country as well? Did they not enjoy their time?
And I'm not talking about the fans. That's
what I'm saying.
Thing.
That's what I'm saying. So there is that acceptance also, but it's the fact that it has to go through proper channels.
See, every nation has got a framework in place.
Then it should
Either the paperwork, whatever you need for a visa thing, that has not been followed in this case. That has to be the case. Otherwise, how could one player get it, the other not get it? Common sense dictates to you that maybe in this case the ECB and all the others were lackadaisical.
So in the case of only one player, they were lackadaisical.
It had to be. See,
come
how
on.
come others got it and he didn't
I
get
just
it?
explain
Who
what
the
could have
others?
happened is what I'm saying is they were not lackadaisical, as I said, or in that case, ECB made a mistake or didn't make a mistake. I think that's pretty much clear. I'm sure they submitted everything. What they may not have realized is, for, as I mentioned earlier, for a player, because of his Pakistani connection, it takes longer than the other, and for that a player you need to be in UK to get it, whereas for everyone else you can get it from Indian High Commission in the UAE. Maybe in the case of if you have any Pakistan connection, you need to be in your home country to get it stamped. Those could be protocols. So I'm not saying either party is wrong. There's nobody who's wrong. Just that there are different regulations for that one player because of his connection to Pakistan, and there are different norms for the other. And in that case, as I said, India is not wrong to have that extra layer, completely agree. But also, maybe in the future, they can treat certain people of importance or they're partaking in something which is very important, being watched at a national level, maybe to make few leeways without without compromising. We're doing due diligence.
But then
Giving leeways,
there
giving
should be a
leeways and not
specific set of rule according to me, because I don't think there is a specific set of rules for such players, because if there would have been, the English Cricket Board, if there is, then the English Cricket Board should have been communicated that, so that they would have followed that process before time. They should have known this, that it's a different process and that needs to be followed. That just means that there isn't a specific rule of specific rules and regulations said that is to be followed.
So you're saying this came at the 11th hour?
No. I'll tell you one more thing. If you will understand a lot of these things, none of these things can be spelt out. So if you understand geopolitics,
due to diplomacy and all the other things.
These are things that are not spelled. So for example, if I tell you, if I'm an Indian and I go to the Pakistan High Commission and apply for a visa for whatever, let's say tourist thing, I want to go to a Gurdwara, for example, which is in Pakistan, I may get it if I'm not going to Kartarpur, which has a corridor. Let's say I'm going to another one, in central Pakistan or wherever. That visa will be denied to me. It will never be told to me.
Yes.
That because I'm in Indian or certain norms, they're never spelt out. That's why I say you need to understand. And it's not just India that does it. It's
every world
pretty much like that.
it, yeah.
Which is why I'm saying that these are things that have to be done internally. And which is why I'm saying, I'll tell you, because Siddharth feels that why you have to have exceptions, you need to, right? The world works like that. I'll give an example why I'm saying it is because as an Indian, and we've done stories, we have cried foul when our boxers or our shooters or some have not got visa, whether it's Pakistan or whether it's China, where again we have
the staple visa position.
Lots of issues. We have all stood up for our athletes, and I'm saying if we can stand up for our athletes and expect some sort of leeway to be given by that country, then by that same logic we need to extend that too. If you want to be a Lakir ka Fakir, as Siddharth is suggesting, nothing, don't care for any player, then next time something happens to an Indian athlete or is not allowed, then we should also all shut up, not raise our voices. But we raised our voice. So we should just shut up and say nothing. We will tell, supposing whatever, Nikhat Zareen or Mirabai Chanu or whoever is going, sorry, too bad, live with it.
The
Will we
wushu-
do that?
The wushu players from
Whatever.
other
Will
nations.
we do
We'll tell
that?
them, no,
We won't
sorry
do that.
boss.
I'm saying that nobody is faulting. We have supported what India has done and even given reasons why they've done. And if we've done any sort of bashing in this show, you know it's been against the English media for misrepresenting the facts and not following the ethos of journalism. That's what they've done. But what I'm saying is that we would also want improvements in that system. And if that system can be improved, why not? It can be improved. Just to avoid, as I said. But I will also say one more thing, going on that subject. As much as I said that, I feel for the youngster because you wouldn't want to have this kind of controversy getting in, already too much pressure coming in, and no fault of his in that sense, right? But I will also say one more thing for everyone on social media, and I see a lot of them are from Pakistan, a lot of them are from England, and a lot of them are just woke in say, a lot of them insinuating that, oh, India was scared, India didn't want this. India. I would like to say, this is a guy who's barely played 6 or 8, whatever first class game, not playing the first. You actually think the Indian team would have even discussed him in the plans?
Exactly.
Like he's on,
Some Shane Warne.
Yeah, it's like doesn't even matter. He doesn't even come in the scheme of things. So, I mean, as they say in Hindi, फेंकने की भी कोई limit होती है. I mean, you gotta be, like if it was reasonable. Like I'm saying, none of those spinners would be giving them sleepless nights. That's not to say that they could not be successful. They could be. But you're actually saying that India planned it at a diplomatic level not to have a spinner who's not made a single test match.
Then Hartley shouldn't have
get a
gotten a
life.
visa also.
I know.
Then Hartley shouldn't have gotten a visa
Like
also.
seriously.
Why even Basil
Like,
de
wake
Oliveira
up.
was a man of caliber.
Yeah. Exactly. But I'm saying, smell the coffee, guys.
I mean,
Smell the coffee.
but the leeway thing is very far-fetched. I mean, that
No,
means
why is it
But it
far-fetched?
does. It
does
happens.
happen.
It happens in the
you,
world.
You live in a country where leeways are given. You
Every
need to.
single
I'll give you an
time.
and
example.
that is why we
Hey,
criticize the VIP culture, isn't it?
No, but
The leeway culture is
no,
criticized in that
but you're
sense.
not getting my point. In this VIP culture is not that he's walked last moment. What did I say? He has submitted his visa application for the rest of the players. Had he been, tomorrow I have to go here, take my passport with me. That is VIP culture. All I'm saying is that at certain points you have to make, if he did not fill his form properly, or he did not submit everything, then you could have said, why the rules? Rules have to be same. I'm again maintaining that do not make any compromise in terms of rules or procedures for him. That I would count as a VIP culture. But if I'm saying if you are going for something as important, and as I said, why don't you think of it from your own point of view? I've been very upset when my Indian athletes have not gone. I said, come on, I would often say this. Are those guys, let's say Chinese officials, are they not using their common sense? That guy has to participate in a weightlifting championship and he is of, so and you could just Google Mirabai Chanu and figure out what she's done. She's an Olympic medal. All you need is just some common sense. Just do that. Allow her to come.
But the dictator.
Yeah, exactly my point. So if you're going to be this lucky ka for everything, then we will have a situation where we will also have to live by this in a lot of cases.
We are living by it.
Asian Games.
But won't you want that to improve? So if you're going to raise your voice for your own athletes, you want us not to change, but everyone else should change.
The only thing is, on all of this, I see again 2 rogue nations that we're talking about. One in Pakistan, the other in China, where both those nations you don't know what's happening half the time.
You're not getting my point. I'm saying if you will make an attempt to change this, and it's not just China or Pakistan. Visa issues have happened to 1,000 other countries for Indian athletes. It has happened. They've been delayed because, as you know, you may like it or not, that a lot of first world countries do not grant visas very easily to Indian nationals. It's a reality. It is a reality. And I'm saying that will you not look at, if it is a person of prominence going for a sporting event like that or something very important, wouldn't you not look at that? Would you not use your common sense? That's my point.
I wish common sense had existed 50 years ago. You know why? Because of this politics and this so-called situation, India lost out on a Davis Cup tie.
There, common sense wasn't there.
Oh, but no, that time India was deemed right. That India would refuse to travel to South Africa because of their policies in 1974. Remember, we came to the final of the Davis Cup. We had to face South Africa. We were odds-on favourites to win it. And what has happened? Oh no, morally, politics, because India is on the right side, we decided to boycott the game. Ironical, considering India had no relations with South Africa. Ironical. That I will tell it to you later why it is ironical. But still, ignoring politics at this particular point in time, then we wouldn't be glorifying the Hungarian guys for what they did in Melbourne against the USSR.
How does that have any connection for the visa? Not
The visa situation will exist with rogue nations.
No, but I just mentioned it happens with a lot of. UK is not a rogue nation, Siddharth.
Pakistan. The key term is Pakistan.
But I'm just saying, that's what I'm trying to say.
It can't be.
No, but we've already explained everything and he's still parroting the same lines.
No, I'm
It's
not
quite
parroting
alright.
the same
No,
lines.
you'd have.
You have to have the same standard protocol.
But the ECB specifically has actually come out and said that they don't expect or they know that the Indian side, India would not be doing anything specifically wrong with because of his origin.
The ECB has no right to say about
ECB has to say.
I'm just wondering if he were to take a direct flight right now.
No, he
Can
can't.
he still make it 8 hours?
Can't take it. No,
But can I be
But
very
fatiguely,
honest?
very
Can I
fatigued.
be very honest? And that is the moot point. Had he been here available, he would have still not played.
Yeah.
You are definitely not playing another. I'm just talking cricketing logic. You wouldn't have played another off spinner. Joe Root is going to be doing that job.
Yep.
These were your 3 spinners that were going to start.
No.
So it doesn't change. No
He's
chance.
6 foot.
So how does that matter?
He would have. I think he would have started.
No chance.
No,
You'll not play 2 off spinners. You will always go for
Two left-armers are fine.
Yes,
Yes.
you'll go for 2 left armers whenever 2 off spinners.
Honestly telling you, if he was here available and if I had to pick up playing 11 for
We
England,
did. We said very clearly
exactly
that
what
Bashir
we
was
had.
starting.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. They would definitely play Rehan the leggy.
Yeah.
He had success also
You
recently in
would play
Pakistan.
Leach and Hartley.
And Leach and Hartley.
Because luckily there is no Rishabh Pant. Otherwise they would have been taken to the cleaners. And again remember,
And I tell you what, if push comes to shove, you will see Root. He bowled a lot of overs last tour as well. And I think he would-
And during the Ashes. He was
and in
practically their
baseball
second
era he's been bowling a lot more consistently.
He's been their de facto second spinner.
Yes.
If you're looking at it, because at home they only play 1.
Yeah.
It'll either be Leach, it'll either be Rehan. Leach actually hasn't been playing that
He
regularly.
had that Ashes before he had that stress fracture. That's why
Exactly.
he couldn't
So
play.
yeah, but you've only been playing 1, and who's your second spinner? Joe Root. So you had to count Root. I don't understand. We were having conversations upstairs also with some of our team
People
members
were going after
who like, how can you consider Joe Root a spinner? I'm like, boss, look at the logic. He's taken a 5-4 in India.
outstanding test match he had. In
Agreed, on a
Ahmedabad.
sandpit, but he took 5 wickets.
But sandpit doesn't matter. Sandpit, all your spinners in India are getting wickets on Gaddas only. You know,
Exactly.
it's the same wicket.
And he's been bowling a lot more in baseball era than even previous era.
And in fact, I dare say his bowling is actually improved because he was getting wickets in baseball England wickets, which are again more on the flat side, giving you nothing. And he was getting wickets.
I can't forget that one outswinger that he bowled to in Old Trafford.
That was lethal.
Zipper and just outswinger at 110 kmph. Yeah, Joe Root, the master of variations.
Okay, let's take a few comments before we wind up. I think we've gone over an hour. Okay, can we take a few
Shocking.
questions?
Yeah, let's take some.
The
By
playing
the end of
11
it,
for England.
Will there be a debutant for India?
No.
Might
Who
be.
would be the debutant?
No. KS Bharat.
I am telling you the Indian playing 11 now, and that is going to be your Indian playing 11.
He still won't buy.
Jaiswal, he did not buy that Rohit Sharma. Virat Kohli will make the Indian T20 squad. That doesn't matter. The openers are Yashasvi Jaiswal, Rohit Sharma. Your number 3 is Shubman Gill. Number 4 is KL Rahul. 5 is Shreyas Iyer. 6 is KS Bharat. 7 is Ravindra Jadeja.
8 is
8
Ashwin.
is Ashwin. 9 is Kuldeep Yadav. Siraj.
Bumrah.
and Bumrah. That's your 11.
I think Akshar starts in this Kuldeep, but beyond that, I
Akshar slash Kuldeep.
I'm telling you, it is Kuldeep.
Kuldeep for you.
Kuldeep Yadav.
Kuldeep. But if it's a rank turner, then I think Akshar should fit in 1.5
Has to.
days.
He's Mr. Bradman in that.
Let's go. Singularity from the UK.
Yeah. Why does UK check Russian and Belarusian tennis players? Even world number 2 last year extensively. Same reason India checks Pak origins.
Very good point.
Good point, singularity, but I lest we forget, these are the same panelists you're referring to who are very critical. And by the way, no one said don't check. But where we criticized the UK was when they had that high-handedness of banning Wimbledon players or banning players from Wimbledon, who are of Russian and Belarusian origin when the ATP and WTA tour had not banned them.
Yeah.
It was a move so radical that Wimbledon was stripped of ranking points, and we all said, yeah, you know what? Who are you to take such a unilateral decision? You shouldn't be doing that. So, checks and balances, no one is saying do away with them. We can't live in a world if we don't have checks and balances. Point is, make it streamlined, make it a little simpler, especially if it's a known player. Like again, tomorrow if Daniil Medvedev was refused a visa, the world would be screaming bloody murder.
But that was also very unfair, and I think the first world does it. England did it too. They did it at Wimbledon, and Medvedev, he had actually criticized
The war,
and you still did not allow him to play.
I mean, British double standards
Yeah,
always
exactly.
at its
That's
peak.
what I said at the start.
Yeah.
Shubham Garg.
Nikhil sir, sad to see today one of your panelists did a story where he pushed opinion Kohli is dropped when Rohit clearly said we thought about experienced replacement but then went with youngster. Again, see, in the press conference,
Not understood.
Shubham Garg is saying that when the Rohit press conference happened, there was a question on is Virat Kohli's, last minute withdrawal, does it hinder your plans? Throughout the entire answer, he didn't mention anything about Virat Kohli. But then leaving out an experienced player is difficult. They didn't look at Cheteshwar Pujara or Ajinkya Rahane in that sense. But leaving out, plus maybe Virat Kohli being rested, it kind of pushed the agenda that for some people that, he said something, leaving out, Virat Kohli has been left out in that sense. There's total this
Who
thing.
did this story?
I did it, but I didn't say that. I just quoted what Rohit stated.
Say, what's the problem?
I stated,
And you did clarify that he's not hinting at Virat Kohli drop.
he gave a very weird answer. When will
if
we?
he says we thought about an experienced replacement, maybe he was referring to Pujara or
Exactly
Rahane.
my point. I've understood now that when asked about that experience thing, now I get to, because I'd seen his statement, Rohit Sharma had actually spoken not about Kohli. He had
didn't
spoken
mention
about
anything about Kohli in that
exactly
thing.
because he was not talking about Kohli, and also because Kohli has taken a personal leave, he's very sensitive to be mentioning anything about the reason.
Exactly.
What he spoke about was his replacement for Kohli, and the question would have been that why did you not go for an experienced guy like a Cheteshwar Pujara, Ajinkya Rahane? So he said it's tough to leave those experienced players out, but we then decided let's go with a youngster, which is why they have got someone like Patidar into the team, and they're going to be playing. That's what I said.
Because he made that 151
Which I
against
had,
England
which
Lions.
also he did not agree with. I had said Patidar is going to be coming.
151
into
of
the
228. You
team.
couldn't
He had gone
ignore
with
that.
who had he?
Sarfaraz.
Sarfaraz. Yes.
96 he made, but then
Ideally,
you
it should
can't.
have been Sarfaraz.
Ideally, why I picked Patidar.
No, you had
The way,
For a
see,
reason?
he already made his
He
For a
Debut.
reason, I
Sarfaraz.
even gave you the reason on the show, but
See,
he's not ready to listen.
Patidar had already made his debut in South Africa,
Because
also it was an
he-
indication.
There is something with players.
The thing is, Shashwat, I tell him also what is happening, yet he does not open his ears and think to know what is happening.
And there is nothing called as pushing opinion or anything. It was just at that point an interpretation thing. So please, let's not get into that.
See, he's clarified. Vishal.
Vishal Panchal is saying someone born in UK versus moved from Pakistan and became citizen is different.
Scroll slightly down.
To Siddharth's point, origin versus born is different. Indians in US, be it first, second or third gender, will always be Indian origin.
That's a fair point, Vishal, but I dare say that's also a very Indian way of looking at things. Again, because if you ask, like for example, and I've always said this, I always found it amusing how a certain section of the Indian
Getting the PM?
was so happy that Rishi Sunak became the PM. I'm like, do you realize that if you go by his origin, he's probably more British or South African than he is Indian. He just happens to be a practicing
Kenyan.
Hindu.
Yeah, he's a
Kenyan, sorry.
Yeah, from African.
African. So the point is,
But you're right. South African. South of Africa.
South of Africa, so technically I'm not wrong, just not the country.
Yeah.
But if you're looking at it in that sense, I see the point. But I think this is a very, let's say, Asian or South Asian way of looking at things, that those are my roots. If you go to a lot of these people, again, a Sunak would probably relate more to the UK than he would to in India at this point, because he's had
Or at Max Kenya.
actually, because he's actually lived there.
But just on that point, because even the British government has said that we are in touch with them and what is happening and so on and so forth. Just on that point of, because there is a lot of outrage in the UK, and I did see a lot of people pointing out about, how can India have such stringent laws and visa? And I was like, irony died 1,000 deaths. Because folks in UK and a few parliamentarians commented, and I was like, boss,
you kidding
if there is one country which has the most stringent, or they are actually pushing
Then
for
we
more
go further.
stringent laws for visas, and they're like, don't give visas to XYZ, and you're giving too many visas out to Asians and Indians. They are crying over that, and then they have the gall to say India has these.
I'm
It's
forgetting
like
the name.
Irony, right?
I'm forgetting the name of that one Indian origin politician who's very vocal about not bringing in more Indians.
Ha.
I'm forgetting her
Yeah.
name. Well, I'm forgetting
Yeah.
it anyway, but I'll Google it and tell you guys afterwards. But
Even the American guy who was standing up for the US presidency who pulled out.
Ramaswamy.
Vivek Ramaswamy.
Vivek.
no, leave Vivek Ramaswamy. I'll give you an even more popular name. Look at Nikki Haley.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As a very anti-immigration, which is again irony
She's
dies
a-
1,000 deaths. Of course, if anyone in America is anti-immigration, it's a joke.
Yeah. Everyone's an immigrant there, other than the Red Indians who they've killed.
Let's not call them Red Indians. That's a politically incorrect term.
Really?
Yeah.
What do you call them?
Call them the
Native
Aboriginal-
Americans.
Yeah, don't call them
What do you
Indians.
call them?
Native American.
Yeah, because
Native American,
Because technically, Indians was because their founder, the great man,
because
thought he
he's
was
going to
Indian.
He was going to
Yeah.
India.
I
Yeah.
know. Because he went in search of India and landed.
No, but then that's the funny, like, this is a very two funny origin stories, is that Columbus thought he reached India,
Yeah.
and Vasco da Gama thought he reached America.
America, yes.
Why did they then not call them
Native Americans.
brown Americans?
Brown Americans. or better
All in
yet,
good humor, guys.
East Americans. That's West
yeah.
Indians, no?
West
East Americans.
There is East Indies though here, by the way.
There is.
East Indians.
Indonesia.
Indonesia, yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Praneet Datta. Prediction for the series: highest run getter, Yashasvi. Highest wicket taker, Axer. What are yours? My batting lineup: Rohit, Jaiswal, Gill, Iyer, Rahul, Jurel.
Jurel's a good shout, but I don't think he's getting no. Has to be
Shashwat
Bharat.
has picked Jurel, but in his
Yeah, I would definitely, because I would want the team to move ahead, because you had anyways dropped KS Bharat. Now you've gotten him back.
That's,
No point.
I'm not a big fan of KS Bharat, but to drop someone after 5 tests
5
against
matches,
no, against Australia. Even if he is playing Bangladesh or something, against Australia.
But you anyways dropped
That was
him in-
also, by the way, a series that you didn't see too many hundreds anyway until the last test match.
Which remember the pitch.
It was only Rohit who had gotten 100, as if, the Ayers and the Kohlis and everyone else was getting you hundreds.
No,
anyway.
Iyer would have gotten 100 if he played Ahmedabad. Everyone got 100 there.
Anyway,
yes,
the
Shashwat.
same.
Well, Shashwat, you're not letting him speak.
No, but I would definitely still, the reason for that is that you have anyways moved ahead of him, then no point. And when
That's
Rishabh
a fair
Pant will come,
point.
you need someone as a
But I know
backup.
Shashwat's
Let him
logic.
finish, you guys. Don't let him. Go ahead.
KS Bharat is anyways isn't a backup for Rishabh Pant moving ahead. It's going to be someone Dhruv Jurel only or KL Rahul.
But-
You never know if he
But for a
loses.
special
Arey, let him finish for once,
Yeah,
yeah. Come on, you don't.
Continue.
Every time he starts, you guys don't let him. You bully him.
Continue.
No, but
Now
then
go ahead.
KS
Shashwat,
Bharat made the right
Shashwat,
noise.
are you done?
Yeah. KS Bharat made the right noise when he hit that 116 in the chase of 490.
But when you have
And India just fell short by about 64 runs when the test match ended.
The
in a draw.
unofficial test.
Unofficial test, yeah, in England Lions. So that's why whoever made the right noises in Ahmedabad is making the trip to Hyderabad.
Shashwat, you want to say something? Done. If you don't get a chance, let us know.
Yeah.
Okay. Next.
Vishal Panchal is like saying Pak born extra scrutiny versus first, second generation Pak origin. There has to be a difference. I'm sure there must be a valid reason for the delay.
I love that last line because I think it's a very Indian kind of mentality again. हो रहा है तो कोई वजह तो जरूर होगी. It's what we often hear.
No, he has a point.
No, it's a good point.
Yeah. But again, I tell you what, Vishal, how that works is that if you want to infiltrate the system, you can go with those connections. At least that's how governments perceive it. I'm not saying just Indian government. I'm sure the Pakistan government also does this. That even if you're a third generation Indian, they will look at you with suspicion. And I think same because it's easier to infiltrate.
And
That
also,
way.
what have Indians done? If you're looking at it, what have we done? It's, I find it ironic that thing comes with Indians or, oh, he's second or third generation. What have we done? India doesn't.
It's like we're told certain things, like Pakistan people over there are told different things altogether as to how we got hold of
Yeah,
Kashmir and this and that. We're
I
painted
don't want to get into
differently.
the politics of it.
They live in a different parallel universe.
For that
altogether.
matter, nobody in the UK has taught us word about colonialism.
Exactly, which is very ironic considering.
Exactly.
Whatever has happened.
Anyway, we're not experts on that subject. So
Yeah.
we're experts on.
Considering my
Cricket.
genealogy, let's not go there.
Yeah, Shubham Garg says.
Again, see, at the start I had raised, okay, when the question was asked about Virat Kohli, he didn't give any kind of an
He's
answer.
being a naughty journalist creating clickbaits.
Okay,
He's
fine.
doing his job.
Yeah.
Doing his job, but you can have your
But he
opinion.
gave a very weird answer. I felt it was a weird answer at that
Okay,
time.
sure.
He didn't give a clear-cut thing about, okay, will it impact India? Nothing. Just talk about youngsters and experienced players. Okay, fine. Satish B is like saying, ranked turners, bilateral test series, all fine now. WTC will be held in Lords in 2025. Oz is there waiting for their opposition. Who will it be? New Zealand or India?
In New Zealand aren't making it, my friend.
Why?
I don't know. I don't get that same feeling
Okay,
from them.
see, it is going to be difficult because see, they are playing 2 tests against South Africa, but that is a very weakened South Africa, which
They can actually win that
for
very
the
easily.
first time in their history.
2 matches, right?
2 matches.
Yeah.
And they played 2 against Australia though, at home. That's a problem. Then they played 2 in Sri Lanka, 2 in India.
Yeah.
And their last 2 or 3 is against England. So yes, it does look hard, but for even India, it's not an easy road also for them. Even South Africa, remember, have the best WTC fixtures this time around.
No, wait, the SA20 will come and they'll boot test cricket again.
No, but then they don't play anything after February, na? Their last test series against Sri Lanka and Pakistan at home.
But
But
even
then
Australia
25
have
they'll
a
have
decent
something.
run,
No,
right?
they'll.
Pakistan series in January, that's it. No tests after that. So, Satish B. Singh, Daniel M. from Australia. I don't understand British double standards. They criticize Russia and players who are having Russian passport, not some Russian origin player with different passport. Also, Sriram was Indian citizen. That's what Nikhil pointed
That's
out.
what we pointed out.
That's Sridhar and
I
Sriram.
think what he's trying to make a difference here is that Pakistan denied the visa to Sriram because he was an Indian citizen. So you should not equate it to Bashir's case, who was a UK citizen. I think that's what he's trying to
Yes.
say. But my point here is that it doesn't matter you're a citizen. I think you're looked at it that way. Whether you're a citizen, born, second generation, third generation. Because as I said, the suspicion is there, whether that happens or not, from both sides. That if you have allegiance to a country, whether via your family tree or whatever, or you're born there, whatever, that you could be compromised. I think that's a simple thing. I think that's how each country sees it. So anyone with connection to that country is looked at with suspicion. It happens because I'll give you an example at the start. I've met a lot of Indian fans who stay in Australia, UK. I've met a lot of Pakistani fans who are in UK. They're British citizens or Australian citizens and so on and so forth. Some are even born there. But they find it tough to get visas to India and Pakistan, vice versa. It just works like that.
Yeah, at least India has issued the visa. For Pakistan, they didn't even do that in the case of Sridhar and Sriram. So that's the situation.
Okay. Any more or should we wind up? Okay, final question, Vishal.
Vishal Panchal. I absolutely agree with Shane. I'm on visa and I see first, second generation more patriotic than Indians in India. Yeah. Back to cricket. Hope it's interesting series.
Oh, yeah.
But can I tell you one thing? And I know a lot of folks who are watching us, from the UK, US, and I've always felt like that. When I go to a match in one of these countries, all Indian origin folks support India, which is fair, their choice. But I'm just trying to, look at it the other way. I sometimes feel, if let's say, it doesn't happen so much in India, but assuming a Australian or a British person settled down here, they had kids who were born here, and they'd be Indians, and if they were supporting England
Their country of
in a
origin
game,
in that sense.
they
would I be happy? I don't think so.
No.
I'm not going to be happy.
This is the sticky.
I'll be like, you're Indian now.
Technically.
Yeah, and you need to support India. And if you're not, as an Indian, I'd be offended. And so kudos to the English and the Aussies who are okay with having English and Australian passport holders. More so not the ones who were born and traveled, but more so who are born and brought up there and everything to be supporting a country that they're playing.
But that's like having best of both the worlds then.
I'm
mean
just saying,
the player
would you
people?
like? I would not.
People, yeah.
I would not. I'm honest. If I'm an Indian and you, Harshit, for example, are of Australian origin or whatever, but you were born here, your parents migrated. I said because there are too many people like that, but if that was to be the case, I don't think I'd be too happy.
India would not be happy at all.
It's a
110%.
very tightrope to walk on.
Yeah.
It's not a tightrope. You know for a fact the majority of people wouldn't be happy.
They won't.
I mean, which is very funny because
I'm like, personally speaking,
I wouldn't care. I wouldn't care. But that's my
it's
personal
probably one of those things. Let's say you can't really say once or till the time you aren't in that situation. I can't, let's say, have an opinion per se if it's right or wrong.
I'll
because
tell
I
you.
think
I'll
it's
give you an
very
example.
difficult.
There's a friend of mine, a very dear friend of mine. I mean, he's an Indian, and I usually don't mention the religion as such but why I'm mentioning now because it is a context in the story. So he's a nice brought up Hindu boy here. He's just a fan of the Pakistan team, not from now, from the 90s. He's just a fan, right? Maybe his growing up years, he saw a great. So he's remained a fan. Now there are times where even India is playing, he's kind of supporting Pakistan. Because I know him, I know that he's not anti-India. he stays here. He loves it. He is a total Indian, a patriot. So just when it comes to cricket, he supports the Pakistan team. And why I mentioned his religion, because it could be misconstrued. That's why I mentioned it.
Yes.
He's just a fan. And so it was happening once that we were in a pub and watching a game. That wasn't even India-Pakistan game. It was, I think, the T20 World Cup final, Sri Lanka-Pakistan. Okay?
2009.
It wasn't the 9, it was another game. Maybe later have they played, it could be a semi.
Pakistan
Semi-final 2012.
2012, it could have been a semi.
Semi-final, Sri Lanka, Pakistan.
Yeah, because I was here, I hadn't travelled. So, and he was supporting, and we were in a pub in India, and because he was cheering every time.
People would not have been happy.
Yeah, they were not happy. They came and confronted him. And he said, well, I'm a fan of that team.
Yeah.
It's got nothing to do with religion. He said, I've always been a fan. And he's actually been like, he reads a lot of books from, for example, like we know Siddharth is a big Kiwi cricket fan, and he reads a lot of it. But we'll never look at it with suspicion because it's a country that we're all okay with. It just so happened he became a Pakistan cricket fan because, as I mentioned, maybe in his best years, the team was very good, and he's just continued to be a fan of their cricket.
Best years, the team was very good. Explain
why
Bashir's Man United fan.
Yeah. But why I mention that is because this is now, he's an Indian born, brought up here. But imagine if he was of a different origin and settled in India, how would we have looked at him? That's why I gave you this example.
And by the way, he chose the best time to support them. I mean, who was not a fan of that Pakistan team in the 90s? I mean, you had the genius of Wasim, the brilliance of Waqar, Anwar.
But I was also a fan, but I was a fan at that time.
Yeah,
Not so much.
not so
but
much
in his
now,
case, he's continued. And I'm not saying there's anything right or wrong.
Even now, if you look at the team, individually they are really match winners.
Fakhar Zaman.
Not just Fakhar Zaman, everyone. They are match winners if they are sent to different teams altogether. But when they are combined in one team,
They explode.
Yes.
Rather implode.
You use a very the explode in Pakistan's terms, please. Implode. That's the right word.
I was really
Even implode
I
is
really have
also
to check
bad.
this video now, please.
Hey, even implode is bad for Pakistan's thing. Sorry. It's true. I'm not saying it.
More damage control is more damage actually. So
Pakistan's case, damage again? No.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Nandri.
It gets worse from here on. Before it gets worse from here on.
No, I agreed with your first point.
Bye-bye. Take care. Good night.
See you tomorrow for the test match.
Yes. What time are we live?
8:45.
8:45.
8:45 live. Looking forward to the toss, the playing 11s, which we've already announced. England we've announced India.
And the sandpit pitch, which you're gonna get.
And the pitch.
Yep.
Look forward to your company then. Take care. Bye-bye. Good night. Vanakkam. Nandri. Shabba khair.
Shubhratri.
Shubhratri.
Don't trouble your mother.
Eat your vegetables.
Yeah.